My name's Amani Bell. I'm an Associate Professor at the Sydney Uni School of Health Sciences. So this project is about addressing placement inequities. So I've been working with students going out on their compulsory placements in health sciences for a number of years, and I've been researching equity in higher education for even longer than that. And I became really interested in the issues that students are encountering on their placements, especially around placement poverty, and also looking at how do we make placements more inclusive. So the project is called Addressing Placement Inequities.
It was really, really eye-opening to hear just how dire some people's situations are. Like, it's one thing to, kind of be aware of it, but really hearing people's stories really kind of made me come to about how much struggle there is for a lot of people.
Well, most of the time it's very hidden. You don't know what's going on inside someone's head, and I guess going to these workshops, you look at these people and you go, oh, they're just normal people. And then they tell you their stories and you go like, wow.
Everyone had very different solutions to the same problem. And I think it was just interesting to see how, even from the educator's perspective or the placement coordinator's perspective, they all could recognize that there was a problem there. It's just that they had their own barriers in place. The placement coordinator could be have resource issues, and same with the university. Well, the student was oh, well, I don't have a source of communication. So they were just they all recognized that there was a problem. It's just there was different barriers in place, and it almost was you needed to find a solution for each of those barriers.
Cumulative stories from students on their placements about things like they're having to move house while they're on placement, their car's broken down and it needs repairs and they can't get to their placement. They can't find accommodation when they go out to their rural placements because it's so expensive and there's very limited accommodation. They're having mental health struggles. They're away from their families. Some are really far away from their families overseas and they don't have a lot of support. So placements are really valuable learning experiences, but they're also very challenging learning experiences, and I wanted to see how we can improve things for students.
It was definitely fulfilling, being able to do something that I am passionate about, especially since being a social work student that's going to go on to placement and being a social work student that is potentially doing honours. So I feel it did give me a lot of these skills and these valuable skills that I'll be using in the future. But I feel university has a lot of opportunities for students like myself, and being able to get involved into projects like this is definitely very meaningful.
I've always really wanted to be in research and researching, and I've always wanted to make changes and be productive. So it's really, really cool to be on a project where not only am I learning things and I'm changing my personal opinions and perspectives on things, but we're actually doing tangible things that hopefully will make a big difference, whether it just be with awareness or through the data that we come through and potentially our solutions that we provide. It's been really, really cool, and I'm really, really happy to be here.
There is no one right solution. There are many right solutions. When it comes to this idea of, the saying to pay students for placements, you can't just pay them. There's a lot of other factors that go into that payment. If you say one thing and say that you should change that, there's many other things that must change too. So if universities are to pay students, where does that funding come from? If the government's to pay, where does that funding come from? Everything, I guess, has a bit of a consequence or a altercation, I could say. It is quite messy, and it's going to take one step at a time to clean up that mess.
One way of moving forward could be to just keep asking ourselves, what are some different perspectives on this topic? So I think for students it's great to understand the perhaps barriers and limitations of the placement educators and the placement sites. There can be big systemic issues like workforce shortages that make it hard for them to provide an amazing placement experience. And I think for educators to keep talking to and listening to student perspectives so that together we can have a partnership approach in improving placements.